and welcome back to TV Toastmasters. We are so glad that you tuned in. My name is Allison Bennett, and I am your host for this segment. I am a member of TV Toastmasters here in Portland, Oregon. If you're looking to visit a Toastmasters club, I invite you to go to toastmasters.org, find a club, add your zip code, and you'll have lots of opportunities to visit many different clubs. My guest on this segment is Dottie Love, and we are here to talk about her fascinating journey in and out and back again in Toastmasters. So welcome, Dottie. So good to have you here.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Good to be with you, Allison.
It is. We met in Toastmasters.
We did.
And after about 6 months, I think we became fast friends.
We did, as a matter of fact.
And we've had lots of adventures together. We've gone to National Convention together, and I think we almost got kicked out for laughing too much. Remember that?
Much like now, yes, I remember that.
It was fun. And what I love, you have such an interesting story, especially a beginning story of Toastmasters. Tell us about how it all started.
When you look at the statistics for Toastmasters, the average member ranges between the age of 40 and 50 years old. They're mostly professionals, but you do have those who get into Toastmasters at a young age, and I was one of those. Imagine being told at the age of 18 that you sound ignorant.
Really?
And that
you, Dottie Love.
You, Dottie Love, you sound ignorant. And that if you're going to be speaking in public, you might want to take a remedial reading class.
Oh my, at 18?
At the age of 18.
And you're in a professional...
And I'm in a professional environment, working for AT&T, as a matter of fact, as an analyst. And I had put together this presentation for my manager to impress upon her and to show her, one, a tool that I'd put in place to identify a discrepancy that our system had and how I was going to resolve it, and some of the benefits from it. And so I did this presentation, and I thought she was listening intently because she kept looking down at my presentation that I had in my hand, and she looked at me, and then she would look at my presentation. I thought, I am getting through. Yes. And when I finished talking, I looked at her and said, so what do you think? And she reached out to me and she said, if you're going to be presenting, you need to take a remedial reading class. You will not make it as a speaker.
At 18?
At 18. Well, luckily I had parents that raised me a little differently than that, and I took that as apparently I need an opportunity to improve.
There you go.
And since I had a 3.5 grade point average in school, I was taking things like algebra, because I was still in college at this time, algebra, and I had a trigonometry class, an advanced composition class. It wasn't my ability to read that was the problem. It was my ability to be understood. And my southern accent probably contributed to that.
So what did that sound like?
A little bit like this. I was from the deep south, and so everything sounded like this. And I spoke really fast, and some of my words were together. And so sometimes you didn't understand what I was saying. And I would use some slang like going down yonder. And so if you put all that in a professional presentation, it might not sell well. So 2 weeks after I got that feedback from her, I walked not into a remedial reading class, but into a Toastmaster professional organization. Sat down in my first club. I looked around the table, and as I expected, the average age of a Toastmaster was in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I walked in as an 18-year-old attempting to do my best. My very first speech, they had competitions then, and they would vote on the speaker. I spoke against a person who was on speech number 7, 8, or 9, and I was on speech number 1. And at the very end of that, they awarded me a ribbon for being the best speaker.
Your very first
first speech.
Wow.
That said two things. One, what those comments and what others think of you should not shape who and what you are as an individual. Two, self-improvement should always be a journey that we all follow. And we have Toastmasters as an amazing tool that people can take advantage of. Winning that speech did not indicate to me that I had a remedial reading problem. Winning that contest and doing that speech indicated to me that there were a plethora of opportunities that existed in that club. And that was one step in a step of many on my journey to be what eventually came professional speaking. I had an opportunity to give speeches in front of thousands of people on stage. And oh, by the way, no one came up and complained about my southern accent.
No.
Surprise, surprise.
Or did they not tell you, they didn't tell you to go to remedial classes?
Or that either. Surprise, surprise.
So did you continue on with Toastmasters? Did you take a break? How did that work out?
After several months, I determined I had gotten enough of what I needed from Toastmasters, and I was a college student, right? And so I took classes along the lines of speaking, presentation skills that was all related to a curriculum in college. I stepped away from it. I got more involved in a professional career of training and development. That took me on a journey that led me to being on boards of directors and give presentations to our boards and our constituencies. And that led into me doing writing, which led me doing training about writing. I wrote several books. I had an opportunity to travel the world doing conferences. And all along the way, I kept tiptoeing back towards Toastmasters because I felt myself needing to continue to grow the right way. When you're on stage speaking, if you don't have anyone there to give you feedback on how well you're doing, you don't know how well you're doing.
Exactly.
What Toastmasters provide is a forum for you to learn, grow, fail, fall, pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and be protected in that growth.
Well, I know you were part of the very first Toastmasters Club that I actually attended. As a coach, I've told lots of other people to go to Toastmasters, but I actually had never attended. And I stepped into Sporty Speakers, your club.
Yes.
And it was a brand new club at the time.
It sure was.
And I will have to say that you were so encouraging, and you took me right under your wing and helped me grow and challenged me.
Aww.
That it made it so exciting that I went on and got my DTM. So thank you for that.
Congratulations.
So when you came back, and we had all those fun experiences. You were the VP of Education at the time. And what I loved watching you do is you created a whole curriculum, so to speak, or a set of tools that club members can use so they can come in and do a role and even have a script. And when I visited Sporty Speakers a few months ago, they are still using those. That's amazing. So tell us about that experience.
Well, the beauty of Toastmasters and the benefits of Toastmasters is speaking, getting good at your delivery, getting good at creating a speech or material that you can convey a message, getting good at delivering that message. They had at that time over 15 different manuals on different topics, from how to do a speech on video to being a professional speaker to how to be do comedy in your speech, et cetera, et cetera. What I found as the gap, which I looked to close, was, all right, now I have this curriculum. I have this speech. How do I put the two together to be effective and when? And one of the things that continued to play in the back of my mind is that message that I heard at the age of 18. I did not want people that were sitting to the right and the left of me in a meeting to ever hear that they were a failure at speaking. And so the materials that I put together was, if you were to be a speaker and to give a speech, here are the 1, 2, 3 things you need to do in order to prepare it, to deliver it, and be successful at it. If you're going to serve in one of the multiple roles that they have, because they have roles to help you hone your skills, but those roles also requires you to be an effective member in the meeting. So how do you serve in that role? And how do you present that part? And what should you and should not do when you're doing it? And what are the 1, 2, 3 things to make you successful at it? So I put all of that in a training guide and gave that to our members. And what happened that first year is Toastmasters has this thing that clubs that do the very best, top clubs, which is the top 1%. This brand new club was ranked in the top 1%.
And it was in their first year.
Their first year.
That is amazing.
And I think it because they understood the value of not only giving a speech, but doing the best you could, understanding the structure of it, understanding what happens in a room, how do you motivate people in a room, how do you relate to an audience, and if you're in a serving role, how do you do that as well?
Well, and here's the other thing that I really appreciate about you, especially in a club role, and I'm sure it is the same as you manage processes in your profession, is that you're encouraging, and you laugh. The thing I absolutely loved about the Sporty Speakers Club is that we were all free to laugh loud. Even if somebody attempted to something funny and it was so funny, we still laugh because it's still humorous.
Yes.
And what I saw is that people's walls were breaking down and they were accelerating so quick. They were going from barely, sometimes even being able to speak English, to 3 months later, confidently and competently giving a speech and having fun and rolling with it. And that's that community that I feel that we all built together.
I agree. And not only that, I think one of life lessons should be you should be able to fail and laugh at your failure and not beat yourself up about it. And one of the things that we embraced in our club was humor was a good thing.
Yes.
And when someone made a mistake, we asked them to laugh and we laughed with them instead of at them. And it became such a joy to make a mistake that you embraced it and you grew from it, which is the benefit, again, of being a part of a club.
Well, and that making the ability to make a mistake actually is what grows companies.
Yes.
It gives you the opportunity to try new things.
Yes.
And when you try new things, that's where growth comes from.
There you go.
Not just doing the same thing over and over again.
There you go.
So what has been in the last 30 seconds, what has been your funnest part about being a Toastmaster, or how it has contributed to your life and your career?
I am an introvert. People really don't believe me when I
keep
say
telling
that.
me this.
I am such a introvert. And on the scale of this was introversion and this was extroversion, I'm like, here. And I think the reason that I feel comfortable with portraying myself more confidently, being comfortable with looking someone directly in the eye, being comfortable with wrapping together a message is because I've learned that the way to be the best you could be is to hone your skills and be in an organization and an environment that allows you to fail and reward you when you do and pick you up and move you along. That's the biggest lesson I have for everyone.
I am so appreciative of it, and that is one of the things I'm appreciative about the TV Toastmasters. I feel very comfortable on a stage, but actually being in front of a camera that's only about this big makes me really uncomfortable. I know we've had this conversation, so it's terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, yet I have a forum to be able to practice that.
You look like a rock star.
So do you, and would you like to look like a rock star too? If you have tried Toastmasters, you might want to try a TV Toastmasters. And if you're brand new to Toastmasters, hopefully you've gotten a little tiny taste of what it could be like. And we so appreciate that you've joined with us today. From Dottie Love and Allison Bennett, we'll see you again.
Hello, and welcome back to TV Toastmasters. We're glad you've tuned in. My name is Linda Bard. My business is called Find Your Creative Voice, and I'm your host for this segment this evening. I'm a member of Toastmasters for Speaking Professionals. It's located in Lake Oswego, and if you're looking to visit a Toastmasters club, we invite you to come. We meet the second and fourth Tuesdays from noon to 1:30. Today, my guest is a manifesting, joy-bringing woman. Her name is Dill Ward. She's a good friend of mine. She's a realtor, a broker, and what else is that? A certified negotiation expert. So I would like you to welcome Dill Ward with Urban Nest Realty.
Hi.
Hi. So,
thank you so much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because home owning, I love your perspective about what home owning is. And you say that owning a home is important. It's an important part of a person's story and wealth creation. Go a little bit more into that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the part where it's part of their story. We have really, in the last 10 years of helping customers buy and sell homes, we've really understood that every person going into the market to be in a real estate transaction is in such a different place in their life, and they come to it with a different set of needs and fears and concerns and goals and objectives. And story really is part of closing and opening those doors of your life, of that time that you lived in that house. So not to get all tangential on us on that, but it really feels special to be the realtor, to be the advisor and the trusted confidant during these critical decisions as a person is navigating which way to take their money, take their time, and their life.
So do you find yourself attracting more buyers or attracting more sellers?
You know, I used to think I could pin it down to a science of it all, but typically it's just the season. If we're in buying season, we're in selling season. People who are looking and facing to make these big decisions, they just find me and we're just a right fit together. So it just kind of doesn't matter which side of it they're on, but the time of year seems to dictate who kind of comes toward me more in one direction.
So you talk about this inspired housing conversation. And what I love about this is that, yes, there are certain things that you have to get, all your ducks in a row, your credit scores, your, approval, et cetera, but those are the things that are, yes, we know all about that. Where do you go with this inspired housing conversation?
Thank you for asking. So one of the phases that's really exciting to me is when someone comes to me and says, Dill, I got a goal. I want to buy this house, or I want to sell. Mostly if I want to buy this house. That's usually, sometimes you have to sell too, but the bottom line is if you live in a house, you have to go somewhere. If you're going to sell it, you probably have to buy or rent. So it's the going to part, right? Whether you're moving in or moving out. And just getting so absorbed in the dream space of deciding what the next chapter of your life looks like. Is there a garden? Is it a cityscape? Is it this? Is it that? And dreaming up the space that you want to go to. And then it's trying to figure out the how. What's the money? How much is it going to cost me? How do I do this? And it's just that's the part that we're so good at. So we help people get into that dream space and to uncover the what. And, I've got some great stories where customers have come to me and they've already done that work. They've done a vision board or a Pinterest board, and they say, Dill, find me this.
Ooh.
And I go, it's clear as day now.
And so you work, because I've seen some of your listings that you've posted on your Facebook page, and there's stuff that's up in Washington. I mean, Portland is probably a nice place to have, especially, but you do a lot I
do post a lot of fantasy houses that I see in other places. I'm like, this house is nice, would anybody like to see this? But I really, really enjoy kind of getting back to the listings and helping people get their homes sold. So yeah, we do cover a pretty big geographic area. We try the 3 counties, so Washington, Clackamas, and Multnomah. We cover those areas. And what we really find unique and special about our service is that people come to us and they say, Dill, I got to sell this house, right? And then we figure out, do you have to do it super fast? Do you have any resources to get the house up and ready to get to top market dollar? How much time do you have? You got to get out of here, or are you just hanging out the whole time and gonna see how it goes, right? And so we really are able to quickly mobilize a plan, help them feel very supported, because anytime you start shaking up all these loose things, a house that's been sitting in its same place for 20 years needs a lot of things, needs a lot of contractors and tune-ups and cleanups and all these things. And we love being a full support to our clients, so they don't have to worry that they have to find anyone to do anything.
Yeah, and that is so key, I think, because people just making the decision, say in selling a house, that alone is kind of paralyzing.
Yes.
Right?
And it has all these consequences.
Right.
And all these micro decisions around it.
Exactly. And then to have to, we moved to Portland 30 some years ago, and if we sold our house, I would the stuff that's in my basement right now, I don't even know to begin where I would start. Yeah. So to have someone who understands that and who supports you around that and provides resources, and that is good.
And a loving heart too.
And a loving heart.
And a big hug when it's going hard, right? Because that's the thing is, it's always good when it's good. you actually pay the person that you hire to represent you when it's hard.
Right.
When it's hard, when it's like, what do we do now? How do we navigate this? We thought it was going to go like this and it didn't go like that. And the dollars are adding up of getting these repairs and things done.
Right.
And where is this money going to come from? Especially when you didn't expect to sell. You have to get divorced. You got a job transfer. You didn't know you were going to sell your house. Someone got ill, you know, can no longer get upstairs. You know,
Yeah.
this is
No,
real reality.
totally.
And so it is such a joy and an honor to be invited into that conversation. And that's why it's an inspired housing conversation, because it's where is it going to get you when we've accomplished our goal.
Well, that is pretty amazing. That's all I can say. I'm not selling yet, but I will call you when that day
You got
comes.
that, you got that.
So, Portland, you moved here from Florida about 10 years ago?
About almost 10 years, yeah.
And so you have seen the upswing in the marketplace here
Yeah, I
in
got
the
to
Portland
experience
area.
2 recessions because I lived through the recession. Florida went and Oregon kind of went like
Right.
a little bit slower and a little
Right.
bit longer, right? Because I moved here right after the recession was ending in
Exactly,
Florida
yeah.
and starting here. So yeah, for a long time, I only thought real estate was just tremendously hard. You know, I only thought that it took 2 years to get through a short sale. That was the only kind of transaction that I had been a part of,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
back then.
So for people who are, you know, because it really is, I mean, for some people it doesn't make sense for them to buy, you know, not everybody is
Or maybe it
supposed
doesn't make
to-
sense for them to buy here.
That's true.
That's another avenue. Is like it's examining your life. So I love to do this thing when people say to me, Dill, I know that you're going to be my real estate advocate. Let's do check-ins periodically. Let's just check in with your life. What are you doing? Where's your money parked? Is it in any real estate anywhere in the country? Is it is it something that you're thinking about navigating a sale from a place where you used to live and now you live here and you're thinking about buying here? There's so many intricate reasons to make these decisions. And it's just super fun to be able to be a resource when someone's, you know, I'm not someone that's like, come to me tomorrow when you want to do a deal. It's like, come to me when you want to start talking about real estate.
About it,
It's all I
exactly.
think about, you know, is how to navigate real estate.
So what are 3 tips, suggestions, thoughts, things to think about for people who are wanting to buy in this market that is really hot? Prices are not going down anytime soon. What can you offer to someone who may be just like thinking, oh my God, I'll never be able to do this?
The first thing is go like this and don't listen to anyone around you because
Okay.
everyone will be complaining.
Okay.
But it's up to you to create a great experience. Go in prepared. Decide what you really can spend. Decide what you really want. Set your priorities. Do the homework. Don't just show up in the market and go, oh, maybe this house, maybe that house. You have to be ready. You have to step in ready. And if you're not ready, align yourself with a great realtor who wants to partner up in the conversation of getting you ready, getting you connected with a lender, getting you connected with just neighborhoods, maybe some maps or something to educate yourself about what other housing exists in the area.
And what about like, you know, trying to pay off your school loans or get your credit?
I wouldn't make any financial decisions. If you're thinking about buying a house, don't make any financial decisions until you've kind of done a snapshot assessment of how you look on paper. Since your documents are going to have to go to the bank for them to scrutinize, then you might as well get all your documents in hand and kind of make some thoughts for yourself of what your game plan would be and kind of start there.
Okay. And last tip, believe.
Believe, yeah.
Dream.
And team up with someone who believes in you, right?
Yeah.
It's not, because let's face it, if you hire someone to help you do a real estate transaction, they're going to have to see you at your best and your worst. And they have to be able to talk you through it, talk you off the ledge when you're stressed, and celebrate you when you made good decisions and they're leading you to your direction. So,
Well, I love that you are with Urban Nest Realty because it very much feels like it is about the city, but it is about creating this space where people can live and be nurtured and grow.
yeah.
So,
And new.
Yeah.
Something new,
Yeah.
right? So putting yourself in or out of a situation is leading you something new. And instead of focusing on what you're leaving, focus on where you're going.
Great. Well, and your office is in Northeast?
Yeah, we have 3 offices.
Okay.
2 are in North and 1 is in Northeast. Yeah, but we cover all over the place, so that's just where you can come hang out with us.
You're a busy, busy gal. Well, I want to thank Dill for being here today. She is absolutely heart and soul about helping you find the home that's right for you. And I would love to have you guys come back next time. I will be here, and I'm not sure who my guest is going to be because sometimes they just appear, and I'm happy to have that when they show up. So again, I'm Linda Bard. My business is Find Your Creative Voice, and thank you so much for tuning in to Toastmasters, TV Toastmasters. There's so many Toastmasters clubs, and I belong to 2 of them. So we'll see you next time, and thanks.